Commander Lyra Vexathani stood on the bridge of her massive warship and watched the stars through the viewing window. Her blue skin glowed softly in the dim light, and her long silver hair moved like water down her back. She was beautiful in the way that all Zephyrian elves were beautiful, with pointed ears and eyes that sparkled like diamonds. But behind that beauty was a mind trained for war and conquest. The Stellar Dominion was the largest ship in the Zephyrian fleet. It stretched for miles through space, its dark metal hull covered in weapons that could destroy entire cities. Lyra had used this ship to conquer 17 different star systems. Each time, the aliens living on those worlds had surrendered quickly when they saw the power of Zephyrian technology. Some species tried to fight, but they always lost. The Zephyrians were simply too advanced, too powerful, too perfect. Today would be no different. Lyra looked at the blue and green planet spinning slowly before them. The planet was called Earth, according to their data. The creatures living there called themselves humans. From what the Zephyrian scouts had reported, these humans were primitive. They had just learned to travel between stars, and their technology was thousands of years behind Zephyrian science. They would surrender within hours, maybe even minutes. "Commander," said her second officer, a tall male elf with pale green skin. "We are receiving a transmission from the human vessel." Lyra turned toward the communication station. On the screen appeared a small ship that looked ancient compared to their advanced vessel. It was made of simple metal and moved slowly through space like an old animal. "Show me their message," she commanded. The screen changed to show the inside of the human ship. Lyra expected to see a terrified alien begging for mercy. Instead, she saw a woman with brown skin and dark hair tied back in a simple style. The woman was wearing a blue uniform with strange markings on it. She looked calm, almost relaxed. "Hello there," the human woman said with a smile. "My name is Captain Amy Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel New Horizon. We noticed your ship in our space and wanted to say welcome. We don't get many visitors out here." Lyra stared at the screen. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Where was the fear? Where was the immediate surrender? The human captain was acting like she was greeting old friends instead of facing the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "I am Commander Lyra Vexathani of the Zephyrian Empire," Lyra said in her most commanding voice. "You will surrender your vessel immediately and prepare to be boarded." Captain Rodriguez tilted her head slightly, like she was thinking about something interesting. "Boarded? Well, I suppose that could work. Though it might be easier if we just invited you over for coffee. We have a much better setup for meetings in our conference room. Plus, our cook just made fresh cookies." Lyra felt confused. In all her years of conquest, no species had ever responded to her demands with an invitation for coffee and cookies. She looked around the bridge at her crew. They all seemed as puzzled as she was. "This is not a social visit," Lyra said firmly. "This is a military operation. You will comply with our demands or face the consequences." "Oh, I understand," Amy replied, still smiling. "Military folks always have important work to do. But everyone needs to eat, right? And we would love to learn about your culture. We are scientists, after all. Meeting new people is what we do." Before Lyra could respond, other humans appeared on the screen behind Captain Rodriguez. A woman with red hair waved cheerfully. A man with glasses looked excited and held up some kind of scanning device. Another woman was carrying a tray of what looked like small brown discs. "These are my crew," Amy explained. "Dr. Lisa Park, our xenobiologist, is very excited to meet you. Engineer Kate Murphy has been looking at your ship design and is impressed by your propulsion system. And Cook Betty Williams made chocolate chip cookies this morning. They are still warm." Lyra tried to process what was happening. The humans were not acting like any species she had encountered before. They showed no fear of superior technology or military power. Instead, they seemed genuinely interested and welcoming. It was almost like they did not understand that they were about to be conquered. "Your vessel is primitive," Lyra said, trying to regain control of the situation. "Your weapons are weak. Your technology is outdated. You cannot possibly resist our forces." "Oh, absolutely," Amy agreed quickly. "Our ship is definitely old-fashioned compared to yours. We are still figuring out a lot of things about space travel. That is why it would be so great to talk with you. We could learn so much." Dr. Lisa Park stepped forward on the screen. "Commander Vexathani, If I may ask, what kind of power source does your ship use? Our scanners are picking up energy readings we have never seen before. It is fascinating. Engineer Kate Murphy joined the conversation. And your hull design is remarkable. The way you have integrated those weapon systems while maintaining structural integrity is brilliant. We would love to know how you solved the heat distribution problem. Lyra found herself answering before she realized what she was doing. We use quantum crystal fusion cores with psionic amplification matrices. Quantum crystals, Kate repeated with obvious interest. We experimented with something similar but could never stabilize the reaction. How do you prevent cascade failures? The psionic element provides natural regulation, Lyra explained, then stopped herself. Why was she discussing advanced technology with these primitives? This was supposed to be a conquest, not a science lecture. Captain Rodriguez seemed to notice Lyra's confusion. Commander, why don't you and a few of your officers come aboard our ship? We can continue this conversation in person. Plus, you really should try Betty's cookies before they get cold. This is highly irregular, Lyra muttered. In all her military training, there had been no protocols for dealing with friendly aliens who offered baked goods during an invasion. Military protocols can be flexible when dealing with new situations, Amy said gently. And this is definitely a new situation for all of us. We are the first humans you have met, and you are the first Zephyrians we have met. Why not make it a positive experience? Lyra looked around her bridge again. Her crew was waiting for orders, but they also looked curious about these strange humans. Some of them were even smiling slightly, which was unusual during a military operation. Very well, Lyra decided. I will bring a small delegation to your vessel, but this does not change our mission. Of course, Amy replied cheerfully. Bring whoever you like. We will be ready to welcome you properly. As the communication ended, Lyra wondered what she had gotten herself into. In her long career of conquest, she had faced desperate resistance, clever traps, and even suicide attacks, but she had never faced anything like this simple human kindness. It was confusing and somehow more challenging than any weapon she had ever encountered. She selected her most trusted officers to accompany her to the human ship. As they prepared to leave, Lyra could not shake the feeling that this first contact was going to be very different from any other in Zephyrian history. The humans were supposed to be primitive and weak, but they were acting like they held all the advantages in this situation. Little did Lyra know that she was about to discover that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the galaxy was not advanced technology or superior firepower, but simple human hospitality and genuine curiosity about others. Dr. Kira Moonwhisper materialized on the human ship in a flash of blue light, her teleportation ability one of the many advantages that made Zephyrians superior to other species. She expected to find herself in a primitive cargo bay or rough docking port. Instead, she appeared in a clean, well-lit chamber where Captain Amy Rodriguez was waiting with the same friendly smile from their communication. Welcome aboard the New Horizon, Amy said warmly. Dr. Moonwhisper, I presume? Dr. Lisa Park has been very excited to meet you. Kira looked around the chamber with her enhanced vision. The technology was indeed primitive by Zephyrian standards, but everything was clean and well-maintained. More importantly, the humans had somehow detected her arrival location precisely enough to be waiting for her. That suggested better sensor technology than their initial scans had indicated. I am here to study your species, Kira announced in her most professional tone. The Zephyrian Empire requires complete biological and psychological profiles of all encountered races. That sounds wonderful, Amy replied. Dr. Park has prepared a complete database of human biology, psychology, and culture for you. She was hoping you might be willing to share some information about Zephyrians in return. Before Kira could respond, a woman with short blonde hair and bright green eyes appeared around the corner. She was practically bouncing with excitement. Dr. Moonwhisper, I am Dr. Lisa Park. This is incredible. Do you mind if I ask about your cellular structure? Our scanners suggest you have some kind of crystalline component in your nervous system. Kira blinked in surprise. Most species cowered when meeting a Zephyrian for the first time. Dr. Park was asking advanced scientific questions and looking at her like she was the most interesting thing in the universe. Your scanning technology detected crystalline neural pathways? Kira asked, unable to hide her interest. Only hints, Lisa admitted. Our equipment is pretty basic compared to yours, I am sure, but we noticed some unusual energy patterns. Is that how you achieve teleportation and telepathy? Among other things, Kira replied carefully. She was supposed to be studying the humans, not answering their questions. But Lisa's genuine curiosity was infectious. Captain Rodriguez led them through the ship toward what she called the Science Bay. As they walked, Kira noticed other humans going about their daily tasks. None of them seemed afraid or even particularly surprised to see an alien walking through their corridors. A few waved cheerfully. One asked if she needed anything. Your crew shows no fear response, Kira observed. Why would they be afraid? Amy asked. You are guests here. We are conquerors, Kira stated flatly. Your species should be terrified. Amy stopped walking and turned to face her. Are you planning to hurt us? That depends on your compliance with our demands, Kira replied, though the words felt strange in her mouth. What demands? Amy asked with genuine curiosity. Commander, Vexathani mentioned military operations, but she has not actually told us what she wants. Kira realized that was true. The Zephyrians had arrived expecting immediate surrender. When the humans had invited them for coffee instead, the whole conquest protocol had somehow gotten derailed. They reached the Science Bay where Dr. Park had set up an impressive array of equipment. For primitive technology, it was remarkably sophisticated. Lisa had prepared detailed charts showing human anatomy, psychology, history, and culture. I thought we could start with basic biological comparison, Lisa suggested. Then maybe move on to cognitive and social structures. Oh, and I brought sandwiches in case you get hungry. Kira found herself sitting across from Lisa at a simple table, looking at data displays and eating something called a turkey sandwich. The food was actually quite good, though she would never admit that to her superiors. As they worked, Kira began to understand why the humans were confusing her people. They were genuinely collaborative. When Kira explained Zephyrian biology, Lisa asked intelligent questions and offered insights from human biology that were actually useful. When Lisa shared human psychological data, she did so completely openly, without trying to hide potential weaknesses. Your species survived an ice age with stone tools? Kira asked, reviewing Lisa's historical data. Several ice ages, actually, Lisa confirmed, plus volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues, and wars. Humans are pretty good at adapting to bad situations. How did you manage to cooperate during these crises? Most species become more territorial and aggressive under stress. Lisa smiled. Oh, we definitely have our moments of conflict. But we also have this weird habit of coming together when things get really bad. The worse the crisis, the more we tend to help each other. Kira made notes on her crystalline data pad. This was not what Zephyrian models predicted. According to their calculations, humans should be fractured, fearful, and easy to dominate. Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Kate Murphy was giving Commander Lyra a tour of the human propulsion systems. Kate was pointing out various components with obvious pride, even though they were primitive compared to Zephyrian technology. This is our main fusion reactor, Kate explained. It is not nearly as efficient as your quantum crystal system, but it is reliable. We have been running this particular unit for 3 years without a major maintenance cycle. Lyra examined the fusion chamber with her enhanced vision. The design was indeed crude, but it was also clever. The humans had solved several engineering problems in ways that Zephyrian technology simply bypassed with superior materials and energy sources. Your containment field design is interesting, Lyra admitted. We use brute force psionic manipulation. Your magnetic bottle approach is more elegant. Kate beamed at the compliment. Thanks. It took us about 50 years to get it right. We had a lot of explosions along the way. You continued developing the technology despite repeated failures. Oh, sure, Kate said casually. That is how humans learn things. We try, fail, figure out what went wrong, and try again. Sometimes it takes a while, but we usually get there eventually. Lyra was beginning to understand something important about humans. They were not advanced because they lacked the natural abilities that Zephyrians possessed, but they had developed something else. persistence and creativity in the face of limitations. In the ship's common area, pilot Nina Torres was showing several Zephyrian officers how humans relaxed during long space voyages. There was music playing from a simple sound system, and some crew members were playing games or reading books. "You engage in recreational activities during military operations?" asked Sub-Commander Zix, a young Zephyrian male. "This is not really a military operation for us," Nina explained. "We are a research vessel, but even military ships need downtime. People get stressed if they work all the time." "Zephyrians do not experience stress in the same way," Zix replied. "Lucky you," Nina said with a laugh. "But stress is not always bad. It keeps us alert and motivated. Plus, dealing with it together makes us stronger as a team." She gestured to where several crew members were playing a card game. "See how they are arguing about the rules? That is Lieutenant Maya Foster, Engineer Tom Brooks, and Medical Officer Beth Collins. They disagree about almost everything, but they would risk their lives for each other without hesitation." Zix watched the humans with fascination. They were loud and chaotic compared to the disciplined order of Zephyrian society. But there was something appealing about their casual friendship and easy laughter. Back in the science bay, Dr. Kira was reaching some disturbing conclusions. The more she learned about humans, the less they fit Zephyrian models of inferior species. They were adaptable, creative, and surprisingly resilient. Most importantly, they seemed to get stronger through diversity and cooperation rather than weaker. "Dr. Park," Kira said carefully, "what would your people do if faced with a technologically superior species that demanded surrender?" Lisa thought about it seriously. "Probably try to understand what they wanted and see if we could find a solution that worked for everyone. Why fight when you could cooperate?" "And if cooperation was not possible?" Lisa's expression grew more serious. "Then we would probably fight. Humans do not give up easily when something important is at stake. But we would still prefer to find a peaceful solution." Kira made more notes. According to everything she was learning, humans would be extremely difficult to conquer and even harder to control. They were too adaptable to suppress and too cooperative to divide effectively. As the day continued, similar conversations were happening throughout the ship. The Zephyrians had come expecting to study primitive aliens. Instead, they found themselves learning from equals who offered friendship instead of submission. When Commander Lyra finally gathered her team to return to their ship, she could see that the encounter had affected all of them. They had come as conquerors and been treated as honored guests. They had expected fear and received curiosity. They had planned to demonstrate superiority and instead engaged in genuine exchange. "Thank you for visiting," Captain Rodriguez said as they prepared to leave. "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." As the Zephyrians teleported back to their ship, Lyra realized that everything had changed. They had encountered something they had never faced before, a species that might actually be their equals, not in technology or individual power, but in the things that really mattered for long-term survival and growth. The humans had just proven that there was more than one way to be mighty in the galaxy. Admiral Zara Korvac stood in the command chamber of her massive dreadnought, her scaled, reptilian skin gleaming under the harsh lights. The Krovar were the military backbone of the Galactic Dominion Council, and Zara was their finest strategic mind. She had crushed rebellions across 12 star systems and reduced entire fleets to space dust. The reports about humans being treated as equals by the Zephyrians were ridiculous, and she intended to prove it. "These soft mammals think they can stand against Krovar military might," she hissed to her tactical officer. "We will show them what real power looks like." The test would be simple and decisive, a full-scale mock invasion of the human home system, designed to demonstrate the futility of resistance. The humans would surrender within hours, or they would be destroyed. Either outcome would prove that they were not worthy of consideration as equals in galactic civilization. 300 Krovar warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each ship was armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the explosion of stars. Against them, the humans could field perhaps 30 primitive vessels that looked like toys in comparison. Captain Megan Walsh received the invasion alert while having morning coffee on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Defiant. The ship was old even by human standards, built from salvaged parts and held together with determination and welding tape. But it was home, and Megan had no intention of giving it up without a fight. "All stations. This is Captain Walsh," she announced over the communication system. "We have multiple hostile contacts entering our system. This is not a drill. All available ships are to form up for defensive operations." The response was immediate and chaotic. Military vessels, merchant ships, even civilian craft began moving toward the outer system. To Admiral Zara, watching from her command ship, it looked like panicked confusion. The human ships moved in erratic patterns with no apparent coordination or strategy. "They flee like scared animals," Zara observed with satisfaction. "Begin the attack. Target their largest vessels first." The Krovar fleet advanced in perfect formation, their weapons charging with deadly precision. But as they closed range, something unexpected happened. The scattered human ships suddenly came together in a defensive formation that appeared out of nowhere. Dr. Elena Starweaver, the Zephyrian military analyst assigned to observe the test, watched with growing interest. The human formation was not random at all. It was based on principles she had never seen before, using the apparent chaos to mask a sophisticated tactical deployment. "Interesting," she murmured into her recording device. "The humans used deception as a primary tactical element. The first exchange of fire revealed just how outmatched the humans were in terms of raw firepower. Krovar plasma cannons carved through human shields like they were made of paper. Several human ships were destroyed in the opening minutes, their primitive armor no match for advanced alien weapons. But instead of retreating or surrendering, the humans did something that shocked everyone watching. They accelerated straight into the Krovar formation. "What are they doing?" Zara demanded. "Are they attempting to ram us?" That was exactly what they were doing. Captain Walsh had ordered her ships to use their one advantage: expendability. While Krovar vessels were massive and powerful, they were also expensive and irreplaceable. Human ships were small and cheap enough that losing them was acceptable if it achieved tactical objectives. The merchant vessel Lucky Strike, commanded by Captain Jenny Adams, slammed into a Krovar destroyer at maximum velocity. The human ship was vaporized instantly, but the impact crippled the alien vessel and sent it spinning out of formation. "Impossible," Zara breathed. "No civilized species uses suicide tactics." But the humans were just getting started. Engineer Holly Baker had spent the night before converting civilian transport ships into improvised weapons, cargo vessels filled with explosive charges, passenger liners equipped with ramming prows, even small courier ships loaded with electromagnetic pulse devices. The second wave of human attacks came from an unexpected direction. While the Krovar focused on the obvious military targets, a group of modified mining ships approached from the asteroid belt. These vessels, led by Captain Rose Murphy, had been disguised as space debris until they were close enough to strike. "Multiple contacts appearing on our flanks," reported the Krovar tactical officer. "How did they get so close without detection?" Dr. Starweaver was taking furious notes. "The humans use environmental camouflage and unconventional approach vectors. They think in 3 dimensions while we focus on traditional battle lines. The mining ships release their cargo of processed asteroids directly into the Krovar formation. Each rock had been fitted with simple guidance systems and chemical explosives. Against energy shields designed to stop plasma weapons and particle beams, chunks of metal and stone proved surprisingly effective. Admiral Zara found her perfect, battle formation collapsing into chaos as her ships maneuvered to avoid the improvised projectiles. Several vessels suffered damage from impacts that should have been impossible against their defensive systems. "Sir," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender terms from the human commander." "Surrender terms?" Zara repeated, in confusion. "They are offering to surrender?" "No, sir. They are offering terms for our surrender." Zara stared at the tactical display. Her fleet still outnumbered the humans 3-1 and possessed vastly superior technology. But somehow, the humans had managed to disable or damage nearly a quarter of her ships, using tactics that defied all conventional military doctrine. Captain Walsh appeared on the main screen, her uniform torn and her face smudged with smoke from battle damage to her bridge. "Admiral Korvac, I am prepared to accept your surrender. Your forces have fought bravely, but continued resistance will only lead to unnecessary casualties." "You dare offer terms to me?" Zara roared. "I command the mightiest fleet in Krovar history." And I command 30 old ships held together with spare parts and stubbornness, Megan replied calmly. But we are still here and you are still taking damage. How long can you afford to keep losing ships? The truth was painful but undeniable. The human tactics were so unpredictable and resourceful that continuing the engagement would likely result in the complete destruction of both fleets. The Crovar could win, but at a cost that would cripple their military power for decades. But what happened next surprised everyone even more than the human tactical innovations. Instead of pressing their advantage, the humans immediately began rescue operations for damaged Crovar vessels. Nurse Beth Collins led the medical response team that approached the crippled destroyer Lucky Strike had rammed. Her small medical ship transmitted universal peace signals as it moved toward the alien vessel. "This is Earth Medical Vessel Mercy calling Crovar Destroyer," Beth announced over open channels. "We are approaching to offer medical assistance to your wounded. Please do not fire on our medical teams." Dr. Starweaver watched in amazement as human medical ships moved freely among the Crovar fleet, offering aid to the same aliens who had been trying to kill them minutes earlier. Remarkable. They distinguish between combatants and casualties even in the middle of battle. Admiral Zara found herself in an impossible situation. According to every military manual she had ever studied, the humans should be demanding total surrender and taking prisoners. Instead, they were treating Crovar wounded and offering to help repair damaged ships. "Why are you helping us?" she demanded when Captain Walsh contacted her directly. "Because the fighting is over," Megan replied simply. "This was a test, right? To see how humans would respond to invasion? Well, now you know. We will fight harder than you expect, but we will also help anyone who needs it once the shooting stops." The implications were staggering. The humans had proven they could not be easily conquered, but they had also shown they bore no grudges against defeated enemies. They were dangerous opponents, but potentially valuable allies. Dr. Starweaver compiled her observations into a report that would reshape galactic understanding of human capabilities. Subject species demonstrates unprecedented tactical flexibility and resource utilization. Conventional military doctrine appears ineffective against human strategic thinking. More significantly, subjects display post-conflict behavior that suggests potential for genuine alliance rather than mere submission. As the human medical teams worked alongside Crovar engineers to repair battle damage, Admiral Zara realized that everything she thought she knew about warfare and civilization was wrong. The humans had not just survived the test of fire, they had transformed it into something entirely different. The mock invasion had been designed to prove human weakness. Instead, it had revealed a strength that the galaxy had never encountered before. The ability to fight fiercely when necessary while maintaining compassion for all living beings. When the damaged ships were repaired and the wounded were treated, Admiral Zara made a decision that would have been unthinkable a few hours earlier. She formally requested permission to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. "Admiral, Captain," Walsh responded, "you are always welcome here. Next time, though, maybe we could skip the shooting and go straight to the talking part." As the Crovar fleet prepared to depart, Dr. Starweaver transmitted one final observation to the Galactic Dominion Council. "Recommend immediate revision of all strategic assessments regarding human capabilities. This species may represent a fundamental evolution in galactic civilization." The test of fire had ended, but its consequences were just beginning. The humans had proven they belonged in the galaxy not as subjects or servants, but as equals who could teach others new ways to think about strength, conflict, and cooperation. Admiral Zara returned to Crovar space with a full report and a growing suspicion that the galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could predict. The emergency session of the Galactic Dominion Council convened in the crystalline chambers of the ancient space station Nexus Prime. Representatives from 18 different species gathered in desperate urgency, their various forms of communication creating a chaos of sound and color in the Great Hall. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy faced a threat that united them all in terror. Ambassador Claire Davidson stood at the central podium, her simple human appearance stark against the exotic aliens surrounding her. She had been rushed to Nexus Prime after the Void Collective had consumed 3 entire star systems in the space of a week. The ancient machine entities that devoured planets and stars had returned from the galaxy's edge, and nothing that combined. species had tried could stop them. Honored representatives, Claire began in the Universal Translator's monotone voice, Earth offers its full cooperation in developing a solution to the Void Collective crisis. A ripple of skeptical sounds echoed through the chamber. The hierarch Vexmore, a towering crystalline being who spoke for the ancient ethereal council, pulsed with dismissive colors. The newest species offers to solve a problem that has plagued the galaxy since before your star was born. This is either arrogance or ignorance. Dr. Tara Windwhisper, the Zephyrian scientist who had observed human capabilities, stood gracefully in her section of the assembly. With respect, hierarch, human problem-solving methods have proven remarkably effective in recent encounters. Perhaps we should listen to their proposal. The humans have no advanced technology, hissed Representative Korthak of the Krovar military. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are crude. What could they possibly offer against enemies who consume entire worlds? Claire maintained her calm expression, despite the obvious hostility. You are correct that our technology is limited compared to yours. But we have something else that might be useful. Experience with seemingly impossible problems. She activated the holographic display system, showing images from Earth's history. My species has faced extinction multiple times. Ice ages, asteroid, impacts, plagues, world wars, environmental collapse. Each time, we found solutions that others thought were impossible. The images showed humans adapting to harsh climates, rebuilding after devastating wars, and developing new technologies from the remnants of old ones. We learned that sometimes the best solution is not to fight an unstoppable force, but to understand it and find a way to work with it. Work with the Void Collective? The question came from Ambassador Quileth of the Gas Giant Dwellers, her voice a harmonic whistle of disbelief. They are machines of pure destruction. They cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with. Maybe, Claire agreed. But they were created by someone for some purpose. Machines follow programming. If we can understand their original function, we might be able to find a way to redirect it. Dr. Windwhisper's crystalline neural pathways sparkled with interest. The human approach is worth investigating. Their tactical innovations have already proven valuable against conventional military challenges. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, the human military strategist who had been quietly observing from the human delegation area, stepped forward. If I may, I have been studying the Void Collective's attack patterns with our limited data. They are not random. There is a logic to their target selection and consumption methods. She activated her own display, showing trajectory maps and consumption data. They prioritize systems with high energy output and complex technological signatures. They avoid areas with certain mineral compositions, and they have never attacked during specific stellar phenomena. This information is known to our strategic analysts, Representative Korthak dismissed. It has not led to effective countermeasures. Because you are thinking like military commanders, Sarah replied respectfully. You see an enemy to be destroyed. But what if they are not enemies? What if they are just following outdated programming? Chamber erupted in various forms of alien argument. Some species found the idea intriguing. Others considered it dangerous nonsense. Claire waited for the chaos to settle before speaking again. We propose a joint research effort, she announced. Combine human analytical methods with your advanced technology and historical knowledge. Give us access to all available data about the Void Collective, and let us work together to find a solution that does not require military victory. Engineer Holly Baker joined the human group at the podium. We have some ideas about combining different technological approaches, human creativity with Zephyrian psionics, Krovar engineering with ethereal energy manipulation, things that have never been tried because your species usually work separately. The risk is enormous, warned Hierarch Vexmore. If your approach fails, more systems will be lost while we waste time on impossible theories. And if we continue with conventional approaches, Claire replied, more systems will definitely be lost. The current strategy is not working. The Void Collective is accelerating its consumption rate. Dr. Windwhisper stood again, her silver hair flowing with decision. The Zephyrian Empire will provide full scientific cooperation to this effort. Human insights have already proven valuable, and our own methods have clearly been insufficient. One by one, other species began to agree. Some were motivated by desperation, others by curiosity about human methods. Even the skeptical Crovar eventually committed their engineering capabilities to the joint effort. Within days, the most unusual research team in galactic history was assembled on a secure space station in neutral territory. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers who had never cooperated on such a scale before. Language barriers, cultural differences, and technological gaps created constant challenges, but also unexpected innovations. Dr. Rose Stargazer, a human xenoarchaeologist, made the first breakthrough while examining ancient records from the ethereal archives. "Look at this," she called to her mixed-species research team. The Void Collective first appeared right after the collapse of the predecessor civilization. "The predecessors vanished 12 million years ago," noted Dr. Windwhisper. "Their technology was beyond anything we have achieved." "Exactly," Rose replied excitedly. "What if the Void Collective was their solution to some other crisis? What if they were designed to prevent something even worse?" Holly Baker, working with a team of Crovar engineers, had been analyzing Void Collective technology from destroyed worlds. The energy signatures suggest they are not just consuming matter randomly, they are converting it into some kind of stored potential. "Stored for what?" asked Chief Engineer Vorthak, his reptilian scales shifting color with concentration. "Maybe for rebuilding," Holly suggested. "What if they were supposed to consume dead or dying systems and use the energy to create something new?" The implications were staggering. If the Void Collective was actually a construction system rather than a weapon, then their destructive behavior might be the result of corrupted programming or incomplete instructions. Colonel Mitchell coordinated the tactical analysis team, which included representatives from 12 different military traditions. "If we assume they are trying to build something, their target selection makes more sense. They are gathering specific types of matter and energy. But what are they trying to build?" wondered Captain Diana Webb, who had been assigned to coordinate human fleet operations. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Park, working with ethereal energy specialists, detected a massive structure being constructed in the void between galaxies. The Void Collective was using the consumed matter to build something enormous and complex. "It appears to be some kind of habitat," Lisa reported to the emergency assembly. "Large enough to house billions of beings from multiple species. The design suggests it was meant to preserve galactic civilization during some kind of catastrophic event." The research team worked around the clock to understand the ancient construction project. Gradually, a picture emerged of the predecessor's final desperate act. Faced with an extinction-level threat to the entire galaxy, they had created the Void Collective to build a massive preservation facility. But something had gone wrong. The threat the predecessors feared had never materialized, but the Void Collective had continued its programming anyway. For 12 million years, it had been trying to complete a project that was no longer necessary. "We need to update their programming," Holly realized. "Tell them the emergency is over and they can stop the collection process." "How do you communicate with machine entities that predate our civilizations?" asked Dr. Windwhisper. "Very carefully," Claire replied, "and with a lot of help from friends." The solution required unprecedented cooperation between species that had never truly worked as equals before. Human creativity provided the initial insights. Zephyrian psionics enabled communication across vast distances. Crovar engineering built the necessary transmission equipment, and ethereal energy manipulation powered the entire system. Captain Webb coordinated the largest joint fleet operation in galactic history as ships from every known species gathered to implement the communication protocol. The message they sent was simple but profound. Mission accomplished. Construction no longer required. Please cease collection operations and await new instructions. The response came after 3 tense days of waiting. The Void Collective acknowledged the transmission and began systematically shutting down its consumption operations. The ancient machines had been waiting 12 million years for someone to tell them their job was finished. As the crisis ended, the various species found themselves working together in ways they had never imagined possible. The emergency had forced them to overcome prejudices and limitations that had divided the galaxy for millennia. Ambassador Davidson stood once again before the Galactic Council, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. The threat to our galaxy has ended, but the cooperation that saved us does not have to end with it. What do you propose? Asked Hierarch Vexmore, his crystalline form pulsing with new respect for the young human species. A permanent alliance, Claire replied. Not based on dominance or submission, but on genuine cooperation between equals. We have proven that we are stronger together than any of us could be alone. The proposal sparked intense debate, but the recent crisis had changed fundamental assumptions about species interaction. The humans had proven their worth not through superior technology or military might, but through their ability to bring out the best in others and find solutions that no one had considered. When the vote was finally taken, the Galactic Confederation was born with humans as founding members and mediators rather than subjects or servants. The galaxy had been saved not by the mightiest species, but by the newest one that taught all the others how to truly work together. Dr. Windwhisper transmitted her final report on human capabilities. Subject species has demonstrated unique ability to facilitate cooperation between disparate groups while maintaining individual species identity and autonomy. Recommend integration as senior partners in all future galactic governance structures. The age of human isolation was over, and the age of galactic cooperation had begun. Admiral Grace Chen stood on the observation deck of the flagship Unity, watching the most remarkable fleet in galactic history prepare for launch. 200 ships from 18 different species floated in perfect formation around the massive space station that had become the heart of the new Galactic Confederation. Each vessel was unique, representing the best of their species' technology and culture, but all working together toward a common goal. The irony was not lost on Grace that she, a human from a species that had only learned to travel between stars a few decades ago, was commanding this incredible armada. But the other species had insisted on human leadership for the expedition beyond the galaxy's edge, and she understood why. "Admiral," came the voice of her communications officer, Lieutenant Maya Foster. "All ships report ready for departure. The Zephyrian vessels have charged their quantum drives. The Krovar ships have initialized their war engines for peaceful exploration, and the ethereal craft are resonating at optimal frequencies." Grace nodded, still amazed at how naturally the different species worked together now. The crisis with the Void Collective had changed everything. Where once there had been suspicion and competition, there was now genuine cooperation and mutual respect. Dr. Rose Stargazer joined Grace at the observation window, carrying a datapad filled with readings from their destination. "The energy signatures are incredible," she said excitedly. "Whatever is beyond the galactic edge, it is unlike anything we have encountered before." "Nervous?" Grace asked her chief science officer. Terrified and thrilled at the same time, Rose admitted with a laugh. "But that is what makes it an adventure, right?" The expedition had been planned for months after the Void Collective's massive construction project revealed the existence of structures in the void between galaxies. The ancient machines had been building more than just a preservation habitat. They had created a gateway to something else entirely. Captain Diana Webb appeared on the communication screen from her ship, the Explorer, which had been specially modified with technology from all member species. "Grace, we are detecting movement from the other ships. I think they are as eager to get started as we are." Through the observation window, Grace could see the graceful curves of Zephyrian vessels, glowing with internal energy, their blue and silver hulls reflecting the light of nearby stars. The massive bulk of Krovar dreadnoughts had been converted from warships to exploration vessels, their weapon mounts replaced with scientific equipment and cultural exchange facilities. Most remarkable of all were the living ships of the ethereal species, crystalline beings who grew their vessels rather than building them. These ships pulsed with their own life force, creating beautiful patterns of light that seemed to dance across their translucent hulls. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," Grace announced over the fleet communication system. "Today we begin the greatest exploration mission in galactic history. We go not as conquerors or colonizers, but as representatives of a unified galactic civilization." The response came in 18 different languages and communication methods, creating a symphony of acknowledgement that somehow harmonized perfectly despite the vast differences in how each species expressed agreement and enthusiasm. Commander Lyra Vexathani, now serving as Grace's Zephyrian tactical advisor, appeared beside her as the fleet began to move. "I never imagined I would see such cooperation between our species," she said softly. "When we first encountered humans, I thought you were just another primitive race to be conquered." "What changed your mind?" Grace asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "You treated us as friends when we came as enemies," Lyra replied. "You offered partnership when we expected submission. You showed us that strength and wisdom could coexist with kindness and curiosity." The fleet entered hyperspace in perfect synchronization, hundreds of different faster-than-light technologies working together to maintain formation across the vast distances involved. Human coordination systems, refined through years of managing complex space operations with limited resources, had proven surprisingly effective at integrating the various alien navigation methods. Dr. Lisa Park, now serving as the fleet's chief xenobiologist, monitored the life support systems that had been designed to accommodate the needs of all species aboard the mixed crews. "Atmospheric readings are stable across all vessels," she reported. "The environmental integration systems are working perfectly." It had been one of the greatest challenges of the mission, creating living spaces where humans, Zephyrians, Krovar, Ethereals, and 14 other species could work together comfortably. The solution had required innovations from every member species and a level of cooperation that would have been impossible before the Void collective crisis. As the fleet traveled through hyperspace toward the galactic edge, Grace reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. The galaxy, that had once been divided by fear and competition, had become a unified confederation where differences were celebrated rather than feared. The journey took several days, during which the mixed crews got to know each other better. Human, cultural exchange programs, designed to help diverse groups work together effectively, had been adapted for interspecies cooperation. The results were remarkable. In the Unity's common areas, Grace could see Krovar engineers teaching human technicians advanced metallurgy techniques while learning human improvisation methods in return. Zephyrian scientists shared their psionic research with human psychologists who offered insights into consciousness and behavior that had eluded the aliens for centuries. Most touching of all were the friendships that had developed between individuals from different species. Nurse Beth Collins had become close friends with a Krovar medic named Vorthak, despite their completely different physiologies and medical traditions. Engineer Kate Murphy spent her off-duty hours learning crystalline mathematics from an ethereal. "Teacher, Admiral," called Navigator Susan Brooks from her station. "We are approaching the galactic edge, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel to find themselves at the very rim of their galaxy, looking out into the infinite void between island universes. But they were not alone. Floating in the darkness ahead of them was a structure so vast and complex that it defied comprehension. The Void Collective's construction project had created what appeared to be a massive gateway, its crystalline and metallic components stretching across millions of kilometers of space. "By the ancient crystals," whispered Dr. Windwhisper over the communication system. "It is beautiful." The gateway was indeed beautiful, incorporating design elements that seemed familiar to every species in the fleet. Graceful curves that reminded the Zephyrians of their art, solid engineering that impressed the Krovar, and flowing organic patterns that resonated with the Ethereals. "It is like they designed it for all of us," Grace murmured. Dr. Stargazer was recording everything with instruments that combined human curiosity with alien precision. "The gateway appears to be stable and active. Energy readings suggest it connects to something on the other side of the intergalactic void." "Admiral," came a new voice over the communication system. It was Captain Jenny Adams, now commanding a joint human-Krovar exploration vessel. "We are receiving a signal from the gateway. It appears to be an invitation." The message, when translated, was simple and welcoming. "Greetings, children of the galaxy. We have been waiting for you to grow ready for the next stage of your journey. Please approach when you are prepared to meet your neighbors." Grace felt a chill of excitement run down her spine. Neighbors? There were other civilizations beyond their galaxy, and they had been waiting for the local species to mature enough for contact. "All ships, maintain formation and approach the gateway slowly," Grace commanded. This is what we came for. As the fleet moved closer to the massive structure, Grace realized that everything that had happened, first contact with humans, the cooperation between species, even the crisis with the Void Collective, had been leading to this moment. The galaxy's various species had needed to learn to work together before they could join the larger community of galactic civilizations. The gateway activated as they approached, its crystalline components resonating with harmonious tones that somehow sounded like music to every species in the fleet. A passage opened in the center of the structure, revealing a tunnel of light that stretched across the void to distant galaxies. "Admiral," Dr. Park reported with wonder in her voice, "I am detecting life signs on the other side. Thousands of different species, all working together in some kind of massive cooperative civilization." Grace smiled as she gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "All ships, proceed through the gateway. Let us go meet our neighbors." As the unified fleet passed through the tunnel of light, Grace thought about the journey that had brought them to this point. The humans had been the catalyst, but every species had contributed something essential to their success. The Zephyrians had provided wisdom and advanced science, the Krovar had offered strength and engineering expertise, and the Ethereals had shared their deep understanding of energy and life. On the other side of the gateway, they found themselves in a region of space filled with thousands of different civilizations, all working together in harmony. Ancient species that had learned eons ago the lessons that the galaxy's species were just discovering, that cooperation was stronger than competition, that diversity was more valuable than uniformity, and that the greatest adventures were shared. With friends, Captain Webb appeared on the communication screen, her face glowing with excitement. "Grace, we are receiving welcome messages from dozens of different civilizations. They want to trade knowledge, share cultures, and explore together." Back in their home galaxy, the effects of the expedition were already being felt. The space, stations, and colonies that had been built through interspecies cooperation were thriving. Children from different species played together in mixed communities, learning from each other and growing up without the prejudices that had once divided. Their parents, Commander Lyra, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Zephyrian homeworld, watched mixed groups of human and alien children playing in the gardens of the diplomatic compound. They moved seamlessly between different cultural games and communication styles, creating new traditions that belonged to all of them. "The future belongs to them," she said to Dr. Windwhisper, who had come to visit the embassy. "Yes," the scientist agreed, "and it is a future that none of us could have imagined alone." The galaxy had discovered that its mightiest species was not the one with the best technology or the strongest military, but the one that could bring out the best in all the others. Humans had shown everyone that true strength came from cooperation, creativity, and the courage to treat strangers as potential friends. As Admiral Chen's fleet explored the vast community of galactic civilizations beyond the gateway, they carried with them the lessons learned from their own galaxy's transformation. They were no longer separate species competing for resources and dominance, but partners in the greatest adventure of all, the exploration of an infinite universe filled with friends they had not yet met. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and the universe itself seemed a little brighter for it.